God.
spray bag.
This thing's light. You're gonna do the intro for Barrel Hatchet.
What?
Yeah.
I gotta do the like, subscribe thing?
Yeah.
I have to get the...
I'm already recording, so don't worry about it.
You can edit. Hey guys, this is Todd from Guardian Casualty Response. For subscribing, it really helps the channel out.
Anyways, hey guys, like and subscribe, it really does help us out. Also hit the notification bell, it does let you guys know when a new episode drops. And Todd is actually super smart. You've been doing a lot of studying lately.
I have been.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about,
still in school.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about IFAKs and maybe a next level of med kit, something that maybe you can keep in your truck. Some of the different tiers that I kind of use for med kits, because I also have one that I travel with.
What do you do for your day job?
I am a firefighter paramedic. I'm a paramedic school instructor, and I'm currently a University of Florida critical care paramedic student, hoping to fly as a medic.
What was your old day job?
My old day job, I was a U.S. Navy corpsman with
Nice.
1st Battalion, 8th Marines, Weapons Company,
Nice.
81 platoon.
Nice.
So,
Couple of vacations, I think you got.
couple vacations.
Yeah.
Yep.
To Afghanistan.
Yep. They gave me a National Defense ribbon and medal.
Nice. I think it's like a participation award.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's break down. So we kind of broke down a little bit of my IFAK on my plate carrier.
Yeah.
But let's break down like an IFAK that we have on our belts.
Yeah. So,
Here, I'll grab you.
yeah, I like the Wilder setup. So, Wilder Tactical gave me a great belt and a great med kit. So what we have in here is a emergency trauma dressing. So I'm a fan of that because we can get pressure. Pressure is essential when we're trying to control bleeding. A survival blanket. If you come through GCRC, you can explain why hypothermia is really, really important to treat.
Yeah.
A hyphen chest seal. So for any kind of open chest injuries. Compressed gauze. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the hemostatic gauze. I talk about that in GCRC. Just compressed gauze that's in here. And then a pair of gloves, right? So personal protective equipment. And of course we have our non-China cat tourniquet. So we can do a fair amount of medical with this really tiny IFAK.
Yeah.
And that's really what you need on your person, right? Something that's going to get you in trouble with time is not on your side.
Right.
Bleeding, something that's opening up your chest wall. Those are the two big ones. So
You know, it's crazy is in GCRC, when we have our final scenario, we have where there are, a scenario role player is bleeding out and there's clothes and there's other stuff that people like, by the time that they see what's going on, they're like, okay, well, where's the bleeding coming from? So doing the sweeps and all that stuff. And by that time, usually 20 seconds has elapsed before they find the source of the blood.
Yep. And we can bleed out in as fast as 3 minutes. So we need to be quick and aggressive and have the tools to actually stop that bleeding.
Right. What are some things that obviously we use to stop bleeding, like an immediate?
So number one is a tourniquet, right? We can talk about the difference between these two here in a second.
Yeah.
But tourniquet, this is going to be for your extremity bleeds. When in doubt, tourniquet out, right? If we see a lot of bleeding, we think it's life-threatening, we can put a tourniquet on it. And then if we get to a higher echelon of medical care, we can always take this off and kind of switch it over to something with a little bit more less circumferential pressure,
right,
to save some of that tissue. But again, for your lay person, no medical minimal medical training, I should say, a tourniquet is fine for your limb bleeds. So that's priority number one. And then we always say in GCRC, two is one,
One is
one
none.
is none.
Yeah.
So two tourniquets
Should be that
great.
way with everything in
Yeah,
life.
pretty much, right? Next we have gauze, right? So if it's somewhere, we call it injunctional. So basically in your groin, armpit area, getting up here, up top, somewhere that you can't actually get a tourniquet on, we can place gauze into that wound and try to create pressure in that cavity, and then mix that with direct manual pressure, and you're in good shape. We also have the ability to make pressure dressings. So this kit comes with a pressure dressing, which is nice. But you don't necessarily need anything fancy to do that. A simple $2 Ace wrap from CVS, you can make a really good pressure dressing with something like that.
Okay.
So that's how we're gonna stop bleeding.
Yeah. I mean, Roy, you also had an incident, you know, from going to where we help out with Todd's GCRC class. Didn't you have something where you were actually like,
Yeah.
you actually had to use your training that you got?
Yeah. And honestly, it was the same week. I'm pretty sure that
It
we
was,
had.
because I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah.
And that's,
So I've gone through this class multiple times. Obviously, kind of AI and just watching Todd, you know, helping out with other students and stuff like that. But yeah, I had an incident on our boat. We were out on the water, and my sister-in-law took a cleat to her thigh, and so I had
less than ideal.
I had the opportunity to deploy my training. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty wild.
So it makes a difference.
Which is a great way to support, you know, Guardian Casualty Response and Barrel and Hatchet, is come to train with us. Like, I think this is one of those classes. It's not as medical is not as sexy, but it is probably the most important, and you'll probably use it the most out of any training that you take.
Yeah.
Because you got like highway,
Absolutely.
you know,
I just ran a call the other day at work where somebody, off-duty fireman, stopped and put a tourniquet on somebody. So
Wow.
you're gonna run this stuff.
I don't know. I think it's pretty sexy.
I do too.
It is. It is.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is really good.
I really do enjoy it.
It's the initial thing of like, oh, I don't want to sign up for a it's like, but once you're in the class, it's super. Super awesome.
I'm proud of the class we built.
Yeah.
You know, I bring a lot of the stuff that we did in the military to the civilian world because I think that's important. And you get a good mix of old school sitting in a classroom, but I try to keep it entertaining, but then we have some fun with it and maybe stress you out a little bit and see what you're capable of. And, you know, from hour 1 to hour 4, you're going to see a difference in yourself and your abilities.
Right.
So that's what it's all about.
I think you talk about also the IFAKs and the things that you train on in the GCRC class are the things that you would have in that minimalist IFAK.
Yep.
So like, you know, I have an IFAK on my belt. Roy has one on his. Todd, you have one on yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I also have an IFAK on my body armor, and that's in case if I'm running or doing something without a belt, I still have an IFAK on my body.
Absolutely, right? We go to the range a lot with just a belt. So you should have one here. If you have a plate carrier or some kind of a rig, then it doesn't hurt to have one there.
Right.
And those can be a little bit bulkier. You know, I have this this size right here would be exactly what I would run for an IFAK in Afghanistan. I mean, this is actually the bag I used. So this is one of them. So this is a simple layout, right? I have a soft T tourniquet. All right, I'm not privy to either cats or soft Ts. I like them both. Here's my compression dressing. Quite literally, I practice what I preach. That's a CVS compression dressing. I do have some hemostatic gauze and some more hemostatic gauze. And here, these are just loose pieces of gauze in case I have something small that I don't necessarily need to pack. It's a good idea to have a good set of trauma shears because sometimes it is hard to find where somebody's actually bleeding from.
What brand are those?
These are Leatherman Raptors. So these are pricey, but I, again, buy once, cry once.
Look how they fold.
They fold up
Can
nice.
you deploy them?
Yep.
How does that look like when they unleatherman themselves? Dang, dude,
So there we go.
fast.
Fast. And these are very strong, very good, durable. They have a window punch if needed. Has a little seatbelt cutter. And it also has a ring cutter.
Does it have a bottle opener?
I'm sure we could
Cracking beers and
do something like that.
treating casualties.
So yeah, I'm privy to the Leatherman Raptors just because of the size.
Wow.
Like this is unbeatable for compacting. And then we also have this is an H&H penetrating chest trauma kit. There's tons of these on the market. You can find vacuum sealed chest seals everywhere, but that's what this is you get 2 chest seals. So 2 is 1, 1 is none. But also with the chest, we're always worried about 2 injuries, right?
Okay.
Anterior, posterior, or each side. So you want to be able to seal 2 holes, ideally. And it's still slick. You know, this can fit right on your plate carrier. It's not very bulky. This is exactly what we would run in Afghanistan. So that's what you need for on your person, right? Immediate.
For that chest seal, is it sticky enough? Because I know there's a lot of like fluids, like blood and sweat and nastiness.
Yep.
Is it sticky enough to actually stick?
So you may have to use some of your gauze. You know, if that's the only injury you're dealing with, I would take some of my gauze and wipe the chest clean to try to get it on there. You know, especially if they're bleeding, they're probably going to be sweating too, because that's your body's response to stress.
Okay.
So yeah, you may have to dry it, but for the most part, in my experience, they do stick pretty well. It's really sticky.
Right.
Like to where it's going to be sticking on your hands trying to get it on.
Right.
So but something to keep in mind.
What are some minimum things that you absolutely say, like, I have to have that in the IFAK? Or is that the wilder tactical about the minimum amount of stuff you would have?
That's the minimum. That is
Okay.
the bare minimum. And that's basically, I have a small travel kit that I use that's very similar to this.
Yeah.
It fits in a carry-on or my check bag, doesn't really matter. I fly a lot with just carry-on.
Sure.
You know, so you can throw it in there and it has the same exact equipment that's in here. The only additional thing that's not in here is that thermal protection in case you do have somebody that's becoming hypothermic.
So you said keeping an IFAK in your car, you know, in Florida it gets super, super hot. What are some things, would you recommend leaving it in your car or make sure you take it out of your car and then bring it anytime you're traveling?
I usually rotate it out, and then I definitely, in Florida specifically because of the heat, I check the gear at least once a month just to make sure that it's not dry rotting from the heat or like those chest seals have an adhesive on it, you know, if that's melting, you can tell. You look at the package and it's starting to bleed out a little bit. But for the most part, I always have, this is what I keep in my truck all the time. This lives with me. And this is a bigger kit with a little bit more equipment that I think is important to have.
What is, as far as the, if I was to have, like, let's just say a group, you know, a group of us, and we're trying to have, like, maybe there's a guy that has, like, you know, paramedic training or is a medic or a nurse, like, and they wanted to build like an actual medical bag, what are some like baseline needs that your group medic would need to have?
So I use this as like a restock in case we were in a situation where I've actually utilized all the stuff that's on my person.
Right.
So I have restock in here, and then I also have longer term things. Just off of stuff that I've seen in the shooting community, a lot of guys will try to jam needle decompression things in here. I think it's a waste of space. Needle tension pneumothoraxes take quite a bit of time to develop. So I know they're small to just throw a needle in there, but also if you're not trained on it, that's a pretty invasive procedure. So I kind of say take those out and maybe put more gauze in, right? The bleeding is gonna really end someone's life first.
Yeah.
It takes quite a long time to get that tension pneumo to where you need a needle in your chest. I have extra thermal protection. I have enough in here for basically a mass casualty. Probably about 20 to 30 of those little tiny space blankets. They fold up into nothing. They don't take up any space. I've also added in over-the-counter medications, especially for the preparedness world.
Like Viagra and stuff like that.
Cialis, more of a Cialis. But no, we go to see, you know, Walmart, CVS, and I stocked up on Benadryl, you know, for allergic reactions. If we're in an austere environment, you're gonna have guys that get bit by ants and things like that.
That's actually kind of nice because, like,
let me ask, do you have your favorite tampons?
No.
Yeah, dude.
If you have tampons.
You actually have carried tampons though before because of at like concerts or events and stuff like that.
I have.
Yeah.
That's my other job. But if you are talking about a preparedness med kit, please don't put tampons in there unless you have like 10 daughters and you're expecting them to need one. That's about all they're used for. There's no clinical use with gunshot injuries or blast injuries or anything trauma.
You know, it's funny.
Todd, sorry, I was gonna say, Todd, wouldn't you say every time that you're in the shop and someone finds out that you do medical training, what is it every single time?
Every time.
Every single time.
Look,
you know what I always do is I go to Walmart and I buy some tampons.
So please don't do that. All right. If you come through my class, I can really go into the science as to why that will not work.
Yeah. But
it will not work. It's just you're putting a sponge in there. So yeah, tampons are for one thing, maybe two if you count a nosebleed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no tampons. Other thing we can talk about real quick is make sure we are buying actual cat tourniquets. So here we have a China tourniquet. All right. I will say they've made them a little bit better because I tried breaking it and it wouldn't break. But I don't want to trust it off a $10 Amazon tourniquet when we could just buy a North American Rescue actual printed cat tourniquet.
And a North American Rescue tourniquet should cost you what?
$30.
Yep.
Right.
What if it's less?
Right around 30. If it's less, question it.
Yeah.
But some things we can talk about looking for to make sure you're not getting a knockoff tourniquet. All right, so this is called the windlass, and this is what's actually creating circumferential pressure in that cavity to try to stop that bleeding, right? We can see the size difference here, and this is where you're getting all your torque from. So this is a pretty important piece. It's actually connected to that inner nylon there that's actually gonna create that pressure. So that's red flag number one. Number two, we can see here, a North American Rescue tourniquet gives you an option to write a time on here, and it's gray, so you can actually write on it. This one is black, so you would not be able to write on that. And then if we look at the stamps All right, so your stamp from this Chinese tourniquet just has a random date on here that you can barely read. July 22nd, 2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for you, lady boy.
I want an NSN number. All right, this is a piece of medical equipment, so I want to get the real deal. Another little thing that I just noticed is your Gen 7 cat tourniquets are going to have a red tab to make it nice and easy for you to find the end of it. So just make sure you're getting it from a actual North American Rescue supplier.
Eric, where can they buy those tourniquets from?
You can buy them on our website. So you can get it at barrelhandhatchet.com. You can get it from North American Rescue. Don't go into Amazon and buy them. There's a lot of, I've even seen North American Rescue sellers on Amazon. It says North American Rescue or something like that. Like it's not actually North American Rescue. And something I just noticed now, it says there's no cat, and that says cat. So I feel like even with it's almost like money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they counterfeit and they try to copy as much as they possibly can. But you know, they're getting better at the counterfeits, and the best and easiest way is just get it from a place that actually is a certified North American Rescue dealer, which Barrel and Hatchet, we do have that, you know, on our website. So I don't jack. I mean, there's videos, dude, that came out of Ukraine where guys are applying a tourniquet like a GoPro, and they'll do the witness and it snaps.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
That's got to be miserable.
It will snap, and if you lose this, you're not going to be able to stop that bleeding. You're going to have to get a new tourniquet. So this is what makes this a tourniquet.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
What are you said 2 is 1, 1 is none? Is that something that like you would have in your vehicle? Like how many do you usually carry in your vehicle?
I'm a little biased, but I have a lot.
Okay.
I'm biased just for the fact that I teach this stuff. So
Yeah.
it'd be really bad if I came across somebody that was bleeding and I didn't have any. So
Use a shoestring?
I have about no shoestrings. I probably have 4 in my truck. I have a few in here. I have 1 in here, and then if I have my gun belt on me, I have 2. I have 1 on here, 1 on my chest rig. It's too easy not to have it.
How important is it to know like your blood type as well? So say for example, like on ours, we always had our blood type, you know, like patches issued to us based on you know what your blood type was. They'd give you that, so that way it was, or I had them marked all over my gear. Like, is that
so? The reality, it is helpful, right?
Yeah.
If we take you to a higher echelon of care and they already know your blood type, but here's the reality of it: they're still going to do a typing cross on you, and they're going to try to confirm your blood type.
Yeah.
You can kill somebody if you give them the wrong blood.
Right.
So in an acute trauma situation, you're going to get O negative or a universal blood to prevent any kind of reaction. So important, yes, but again, mine is marked, but I understand that if I get taken into a hospital, they're just gonna take my blood and type and cross it and confirm that I am A positive.
Yeah. You know what I think it's crazy is
Don't
like
get too caught up in it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I think in like what's happening in the Middle East right now, they're having a ton of people trying to donate blood, but you know, is that something that you could do in the field? Let's just say it's an austere environment. We have no higher echelon of care. We're in the field. We have a medic tent that we set up. You know, having that medic being able to draw blood and stuff like that. I mean, that might be a reality someday. I don't know.
It could be. And the good news is I'll have a better answer for you because I'm doing my research project for my critical care class. I'm going to be doing it on creating walking blood banks, basically modeling what the Special Forces already does.
Yeah.
Which is something they do. If they have a bunch of casualties, they can create a walking blood bank. And they have a little point of care testing device that they can use to get somebody's blood type. The big no-no is not giving just random blood to somebody.
Yeah, mixing blood.
Blood is it's important, but you can also really hurt somebody if you give them the wrong blood. So I'll have more info on that when I get done with my research project.
Yeah.
But
good follow-up video.
Yeah, that is a good follow-up video.
I do plan on learning everything I can about that and potentially implementing that in a austere environment. What can we do to actually get blood back into people, because that's what they need.
In the streets, on the streets, have you noticed a drastic difference as far as like survivability rate from like a rifle round versus a pistol? Like what has been?
Yeah, I mean,
what
what is trauma? It's a transfer of energy, right? And if you look at the actual equation of kinetic energy, velocity gets squared and mass gets halved.
Okay.
So to break that down in the layman's terms, the mass gets cut in half and the speed of that round will get doubled.
Wow.
And that's the energy that's transferred.
Wow.
So to answer your question, yeah, a rifle round is going to do a heck of a lot more damage.
Yeah.
Something flying 2,800 feet per second versus a 900 foot per second round.
Right.
So energy is a huge factor. into how much damage you're actually going to sustain.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some final notes that you would have for the Barrel and Hatchet guys in the community, that just some words of wisdom that you would want to impart on them?
For those that have come through the class,
Yeah.
you know, and I always preach it, just throw in your tourniquet drills into your range days.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there loading mags, maybe have one of your guys say, all right, tourniquet right arm, and throw a tourniquet on.
Do you recommend having a training tourniquet?
Yes. So this is a great training tourniquet, my Chinese Amazon
Yeah.
deal. I keep a training tourniquet in my range bag for that exact reason. Just make sure you don't mix them up, which that could be an easy solution to that actually, is that I don't see the red tab, so I know that's my dud. But yeah, a training tourniquet, and kind of stay up to date, because as I say in our class, you know, things change. Sometimes we teach stuff and then they develop a study and they say, okay, this is no longer the best option. So I think that's all you can do, is just stay up on it. I try to keep my page active on the most up-to-date stuff with medicine, and keep it relevant to what we're all kind of prepared for.
I think as trainers, I know for us, we try to stay relevant.
Yeah.
So I think as a student,
Yeah.
you should also do the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
No.
Take the curriculum that I learned, 10 years ago, and then coming back through,
Yeah.
a performance-based class, or even coming back through, a medical class.
Sure.
10 years ago, was being taught something completely different.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So-
That's actually a great point, because like I went through TCCC and Combat Lifesaver and stuff like that, and they used to teach us like doing IVs, and we don't teach that, or we don't even learn that anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's just you're saying it's evolved.
Really,
Yeah.
it seems like now, I mean, time is everything.
Yeah.
So
time.
it's just get
And we have to be cognizant of the fact that we just spent 20 plus years in 2 different conflicts. One of the biggest things we've taken out of these 2 conflicts is medical.
Yeah.
The medical advancements, having everybody equipped, and I know I've seen it in the gun community. Everyone's carrying tourniquets. That's great. That's what we implemented in the military, and it's worked.
Yeah.
Right? You had a casualty, in 2010, probably sustained injuries that in Vietnam would have killed them.
Wow.
And we have a lot more guys that are alive because of the advancements in the training.
Yeah.
Right. So it is important.
I think the
Yeah.
one thing now, because we have all these survivors of these actual physical traumas, now they're having to deal with the mental traumas, which is still, I think, something that we, as an entire community and a country, still need to be able to figure out how to address those
Yeah.
types of things. And
Yeah.
2 other questions I had. So one of them is, if I was to do a training IFAK where I can use that to train on, like, do I have to buy like the North American Rescue type equipment for my
No.
training stuff?
Nope.
Like, where could I get some of the supplies?
So for my company, I utilize Live Action Safety Supply. They have a lot of good priced, cheap gauze that you can use for training, which I'm going to be honest with you, that gauze will work if you needed it to.
Yeah.
When we did our live tissue, we didn't use any of the fancy gauze. We used
Yeah.
all just basic gauze.
Yeah.
So you can get a whole box of it for probably less than $20.
Oh wow.
So yeah, you can absolutely do. You don't need the expensive stuff. I don't even recommend getting the expensive stuff, because again, especially the gauze thing, there's just not a lot of evidence that supports needing to buy that versus just good gauze and good skills
Right.
using that gauze, right?
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise says, it's the pilot, not the plane.
He also says, join the Church of Scientology. It's real. No, I think the last thing I had that you talked about, having like the allergy stuff, like my daughter, she has, allergic reactions from, nuts. So like having the fact that you can have, like, we carry an EpiPen everywhere, but
Yep.
having like something with help with allergic reactions, that was
Yep.
a scary incident we had. And now we carry EpiPens everywhere, but it's just one of those things where you don't think about it until, like,
Right.
sadly, I wish I had pre-thought about that
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah, and the Epi fixes the emergency,
Yeah.
but the Benadryl is really what she needs too.
yeah.
So it would be good to have some Benadryl, because the
Yeah.
Epi, like I said, the Epi is just fixing the lungs and the blood pressure issue, but the Benadryl is going to stop that histamine response.
Yeah.
So, and you can buy that over the counter.
Yeah.
You don't need a prescription for that.
Yeah. And then my last thing I think I figured out on my own is, I had my IFAK, and we actually experience this all the time on the range, where guys get like cuts, bumps, and bruises, and they don't have any Band-Aids. Like, I
Yeah.
never think about
Yeah.
just getting a boo-boo
I
kit.
actually have just a boo-boo section
yeah.
in here with the Neosporin, Band-Aids,
Chapstick.
little tiny things. Yep, chapstick. Because that is something, you got tourniquets and gauze, and you can stop like somebody with 8
Yeah,
gunshots,
yeah.
but little cut on your hand can't help you.
Yeah, just
So yeah, a
cheese
boo-boo
and
bag
rice.
is important. But,
Well,
yeah.
cool, man. I
So-
guess Yeah, comment your
Please
experience.
come out.
Yeah.
Please come out and train with us.
Yeah.
I love teaching the class.
It's probably the most important class that we offer.
It is. It is 100%.
And I really love teaching. I love like working with like Barrel and Hatchet. You guys say it all the time, but it really is true that Barrel and Hatchet gets us a better caliber of student. Like really just, I've had nothing but awesome experiences, and everybody that's come through the class has been raving about it, which I'm proud of. So
yeah.
It's a really fun class, and you're going to learn a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the
I
reality.
learn a ton every time we do it. Every time I always get something out.
Every time.
Every time. Well, all right.
All right, cool.
Hey, yeah, friggin', if you guys have experiences or have actually any stories that you'd be willing to share it in the comments below. That really does help out the community. Come check it through.
Don't stutter.
Come and train with us.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate it.
Come
Come and train with us. Come train with Todd. Take the GCRC class. It's super important. It helps us out, but mostly it helps you to be the asset and not a liability. So make sure you guys are going out and training. Involve it in your regimen. And yeah, make sure you guys go follow us. We are on Instagram. Todd, you have an Instagram page as well.
Guardian Angel Consulting.
Yep. So go check that out. He's always posting some cool stuff and information. We're also on X. I think it's X, not Twitter anymore.
Okay.
So cool. X Files, go check us out on there. And yeah, make sure you guys go out and train. Make sure you're the asset, not the liability. And we'll see you.
Where'd you get that sweet top?
Listen, this is a very special limited top. This is actually a Vietnam War issued USGI top, and I got it from my buddy Steve. And he used to be a reenactor for like Vietnam War and World War II.
Cool.
So I was like, dude, I got to get one of those
That's
tops.
cool.
Okay, anyways, we're ready. Yeah, let's get out of here.